Hey guys, welcome to Rule of Two. Here we have Ashley Eckstein on the show. Thank you so much, Ashley, for being with us. How are you today?
Oh gosh, thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm doing great. I'm healthy, and I
Yeah.
guess these days, if we're healthy, then we're doing pretty darn good.
Right? I know it's a bit stressful. So you have a new book coming out.
Yes.
I'd love to
Yes.
hear more about it.
Oh my gosh, this is like epic fail right now because I the book is right around the corner. I wasn't thinking we're on
Grab it.
video. I
You
could
can
have like
grab it.
shown it.
You can grab it if you
Oh,
want. Yeah.
sure. Hey, we're
Things are
really
things
live,
are
right?
super things are super relaxed on the channel here. So.
Okay. Let me grab it. It's literally right around the corner. Hold on.
Okay, cool. What's up, guys? What's going on?
What's up, dude? How
Chat
you
going
doing?
Crazy right now.
Chat going crazy. How was your weekend?
My weekend or their weekend?
Yeah. Everybody's weekend.
Okay.
Hopefully everybody's staying indoors.
Yeah, staying safe. Going
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
Watching that 4K Revenge of the Sith looks awesome.
Yeah, Clone Wars coming out.
Cool. So Ashley, you have the book?
Yes, I do. I actually have I Am a Padawan. It's a little golden book. Let's see, get away from the light flare there. But I'm not being very successful at it, clearly. But it's a little golden book called I'm a Padawan.
Ashley, sorry to interrupt you. By any chance, do you have the show open on your computer? Because I think we're getting a little bit of an echo from you.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay. What button am I looking at?
Do you have the show up on YouTube or no? You're just talking to us.
I'm just talking to you on Skype.
Okay. I'm not hearing the echo. But do you have us? Is our audio coming into your headphones?
Yes.
Okay, so then it should be fine. Do you hear an echo?
No.
Theory?
No, I'm good. I'm good here.
We have in the chat is everybody saying that there's an echo.
Let me unplug and plug in my.
Look, this is par for the course now that everybody's broadcasting from home.
How's this now?
People are saying
Is this any
left
better?
guy has an echo, so it's Mark.
Oh, maybe
Well, I
we're
have-
around the echo.
Okay, well, I think it should be fine now. It's fixed, some people are saying. And other people are saying echo.
Okay.
I think they're just saying echo from the Clone Wars, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so sorry to talk about the book.
It's all good. Hey, there's certain things I feel comfortable doing, whether it's voice acting or designing clothes. But technically, I'm not very good. If there's a way to mess it up, I probably would.
Yeah, and look, let's definitely get into the clothes stuff. That sounds interesting. I didn't even know you designed clothes. Let's talk about the book. So the book is something that you wrote.
Yes. I grew up on little golden books. I don't know if anyone here watching. I literally learned to read on these. You know, they've been around forever. And Lucasfilm, they have a series of these books called the I Am series. So there's I Am a Princess or Princess Leia. You know, I Am a Sith. There's I Am a Pilot. And so they wanted one called I Am a Padawan. And they asked if I would write it about Ahsoka. And I think I said it was like the fastest time I've ever said yes to anything in my life. And it's, obviously it's written for kids. It's written about how to be a Padawan, which, is a student or Jedi in training. And it was pretty cool because I got to go back through the Clone Wars and pretty much binge the series and pick out my favorite parts. And let's see, Shane Cluster is the illustrator, and he did a really, really great job. So I pick out favorite parts of the series and my favorite lessons. And, it's all about let's see, this lesson is about helping others, which obviously we need to do right now, and about being brave. And so it's a really sweet book for kids. It comes out April 7th. But also, I will say, just in times like these, as adults, there's really good reminders, even for me as an adult. I was reading it to my nieces and nephews, and I was like, yeah, okay, I need to practice what I preach.
Yeah. I put the link to the book in the description for anyone who wants it. You can pre-order it right now. It's just an Amazon link. And I found the echo is actually Mark's. It was Mark's feedback. So I think you have. Can you hear your own voice, Mark?
No, I can't.
Okay. Well, it was feeding back for me, but it's fixed now. So I just have to mute you whenever you don't talk.
Oh, okay, cool. So, Ashley, what do you think after writing this book and going through this whole thought process? What is the number one thing of being a good Padawan?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think what makes Ahsoka such a great Padawan is that she's a melting pot of so many of the different Jedi. Obviously, being closest to Anakin Skywalker, I think she took on all of his good traits, which is, she thinks outside of the box. Obviously Anakin being so sporadic and not, he kind of bends the rules a little bit. So she's like him, but then she's also like Obi-Wan Kenobi, where, he's very by the book. Other Jedi like Luminara or Yoda. And I think that's what, let's be honest, even all of us are. We're kind of a melting pot of all sorts of different teachers that we learn from. And I think there's lessons to learn from everyone, and everyone's different. And just kind of, to me, I definitely learned the black and white, but I thrive in the shade of gray. And I think Ahsoka, is that shade of gray. She's just learned a little bit from everyone. And I think that's what makes a good student.
That's great. That's she's when I first started watching Ahsoka, wow, it feels like it was in 2006, 2005. Has it really been that long already? When did the Clone Wars movie come out?
Yeah, so the Clone Wars movie came out in 2008. But we've actually been working on it since 2006. So it's been a long time. I've been working on the show on Ahsoka for 14 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tell me a little bit for all the folks out there that have never gone through this and might never go through this kind of experience. What was it like when you got that first phone call that said, "Hey, Ashley, are you interested in being in Star Wars? Are you interested in maybe playing a character that's the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker?" Like, how does that all register in your mind when you first hear that?
Well, that's a great question, because first of all, I was in complete shock when I got the call, because my audition and my callback was terrible. I mean, it was literally like one of my worst auditions, because they wanted Ahsoka to have an Icelandic accent, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Icelandic accent? What does that even sound like?
Well, the funny thing is I still can't do it to this day. But Dave Filoni wanted Ahsoka to sound like Bjork. And yeah, but he didn't say Bjork. He just said an Icelandic accent. And so I actually did. I went and I studied with the best dialect coach in LA. I mean, like, apparently all the celebrities go to him to learn, accents. And he was amazing. Like, he literally taught me Icelandic in like 4 hours. The problem is I learned like pure Icelandic, which mostly sounds Irish. And so I go into the callback and I'm doing this Icelandic accent, but it sounds Irish. And, really what got me the part was how I acted in between takes, because I did the first take and, Dave Filoni stops me and he was like, "No, I want it to sound more Icelandic." And I raised my hand and I said, "I'm sorry, but I am doing Icelandic. I don't know what you want."
Right.
And like, I'm not one to talk back to the director. Like, I just don't do that. But I was so frustrated because I wanted the part so bad. Yeah. Like, imagine like having the opportunity to originate a Star Wars character and you just like feel it slipping away through your fingers. And so I was so frustrated. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Finally, they let me do a couple takes in my own voice. But I walked out of there and I told my husband, I was like, there's no way. I didn't get it. And I actually didn't find out that I got the part until like 6 weeks later. And when they called, they just said, hey, you got the part and it's this new character, but I didn't know anything about her. I literally knew nothing about the part that I booked until I went into my first session. And then I sat there for 4 hours and they told me all about Ahsoka, like who she was going to be. But the problem was I literally had to sign my life away in an NDA. And I couldn't even tell my family or my husband or anyone. They said, you can't tell a soul. And so I didn't. Like I had to keep this secret to myself. I told my husband a year later who I was playing. Wow. Because they let him sign an NDA. So finally I could tell him. And then I couldn't tell the rest of the world until 2 years later. So it was a really hard secret to keep.
So wait a minute, for a whole year, dinners, breakfasts, all the goings-ons of a married couple, and you couldn't tell him what you were working on?
I could tell him that I was working on the new Star Wars cartoon. That's all cool. I could tell him. So he knew I was working on something, but he didn't know who, he didn't know what. He did know, I take that back. He did know it was a new character, but he knew nothing about the character. So it was a really hard secret to keep. I mean, after keeping that secret, I feel like I could,
Yeah. So were you a big Star Wars fan before you got the role? Like, when they were like, "Hey, you're going to be Anakin Skywalker's apprentice," were you like, "Yeah, I know," or did you have to, kind of figure out who Anakin was at that point?
No, I was definitely a Star Wars fan. Yeah. I mean, I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan, but I would say, looking back now, I was way more of like a casual fan. Right. Learning under Dave Filoni and the entire cast and crew, I know Star Wars now so much better than I ever did before. So, I very quickly learned in the beginning what I didn't know. Yeah. Now I'm still far from a Star Wars expert. You know that after being in the room with Sam Witwer.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that guy just knows everything. Like, I don't know how he knows everything about everything, but it just blows my mind.
It is. Actually, one of my favorite moments was being in the studio with Sam Witwer and Dave Filoni at the same time. And this was one of the first times. This was actually the Mortis arc, which is what I think season 3 or 4. Yeah, it's one of my favorite arcs of the whole series. Yeah. And Sam, this was before Darth Maul. Sam voiced the brother. Yeah. And I remember, Sam was trying to show off how much he knew about Star Wars. And, Dave knows, like, everything. Yeah. So, of course, like, to earn Dave's, like to earn the stripes from Dave, that's, like, a feat. And I could tell, like, Sam was, like, chipping away, trying to, like, earn Dave's respect. And Dave hadn't let the barrier down yet. And there was a mistake in the script. Yeah. And I don't even remember what it was. But Sam called it out,
and Dave was like, "No." Yeah, where Padme met Shmi before, and Dave didn't know, he didn't remember.
Yes. Okay, so Sam's probably talked about it. Well, I was there, like I witnessed it, and all of a sudden, like it's like you could see the wall come down, like that Dave Filoni had built up, and then all of a sudden, it's like Sam earned his stripes, like it was like instant, like that. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
So
look,
I got a question I got to ask.
Go ahead.
Red lightning. Do you know anything about that? Is it more powerful than Palpatine's, but like blue-purple lightning, or is it just another color?
Oh, see, that
George Lucas ever talked about it, or Dave, or?
That I don't know the answer to.
It's such a random question. I know, but I just always wondered. I'm like,
what's red lightning?
Well,
talk about that. What is it? Red lightning. Where you got now?
Red lightning.
The son of Mortis.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I'm like, is it more powerful, or what's the deal with it? Or maybe it's just the pure evil. I don't know. I always wondered.
So Ashley, you got to tell us, what was it like the first time you met George Lucas?
Oh my gosh. You know, I've had the privilege of meeting him, definitely a handful of times over the course of the years, because what most people don't realize is he was very hands-on with Clone Wars. I mean, it really was,
You could feel it. You could feel it.
Yeah. I mean, it was like his baby, just as much as it was Dave Filoni's baby as well. It was George Lucas's baby. He was very, very hands-on. But we recorded our episodes in Los Angeles, and obviously George Lucas worked in San Francisco. So we usually only got to see him when we went up to San Francisco for press events or whatnot. We would go up there for press junkets or any sort of event. So the first time I got to meet him was actually in 2007, and that was actually when my husband signed the NDA, because I got to go to Skywalker Ranch for the first time.
How cool is it?
And Skywalker Ranch is my happy place. It is like, I'm a massive Disney fan, but if there's one place that like even tops Disney World, it's Skywalker Ranch.
Oh wow.
Like it is literally one of the most magical places on earth. It's incredible. So we went for the first time in 2007, and they literally met us at the door, and they met my husband with an NDA. Like he couldn't even walk through the doors of the house without signing the NDA, which I was happy with, because that meant finally I could tell him what I was doing. Yeah. So they gave us a tour of Skywalker Ranch, and then it all, kind of ended and culminated by going up to George Lucas's office. And he couldn't have been nicer. I mean, he's exactly what you think he is. Like, he comes across exactly like he comes across in interviews, just very humble, very just loves Star Wars. And it was so funny though, because my husband used to play baseball, and he had just won the World Series.
Oh wow.
And World Series MVP. Yeah. Like literally it was like,
oh my God, what team? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. He played for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, okay. David Eckstein?
Yes.
Oh wow! Okay, I never connected those two things together.
Oh, good. He's also a huge Miami Dolphins fan, so I like.
Oh, is he really? Oh wow!
Yeah.
Congratulations afoot. David. Oh wow! Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Well, so this was literally like a month after the World Series, and so several people on the crew had brought in baseballs, and they were wanting him to sign baseballs, and they brought a baseball. Somebody on the crew brought a baseball for George Lucas, because they didn't know if he was a baseball fan. So we brought it up to his office, and they said, George, this is David Eckstein. Would you like him to sign a baseball? And he was like, nah, I'm not really a baseball fan. He's like, but I really like your wife's performance.
So he didn't even really. Well, it's just like, oh, whatever. He seems like a really humble guy. I can't even imagine what it's like to meet him. Just so into his own work and very down to earth, it seems, at least in interviews. And it's nice to hear that he's like that in person too.
He very much is. And in fairness, he did take the baseball for his daughter. He was like, look, he's like, my daughter may be into baseball. So he did take it. But I do have, I will share a George Lucas story, because, he is everything I experienced. He is exactly what you want him to be. He's so kind, so humble, just loves what he's doing so much. And he cares about people so much. And so I kind of have my own little ode to George Lucas that I'm trying to like continue to carry the torch in my own little way. But when obviously back when Clone Wars was on the air, whenever we would have a premiere or a press event, he would always try to tie it to a charity. So whether it was like the Boys and Girls Club or Make-A-Wish Foundation, one time we had a season premiere, and they invited, instead of the fans, they invited the Boys and Girls Club. So it was a theater full of kids. And I remember asking, I was like, I'm just curious, like, why does he do that? And, the answer they gave me was, well, George feels that if we're going to put a lot of time and energy and resources into these events, we should do good with it. And I was always so inspired by that. And Ahsoka has a line in this new season that's currently on Disney Plus. And it's actually, I think, this upcoming Friday. She says, when I see people in need, I help them no matter what. I guess it's just who I am. And when I read that line, I thought, okay, I'm taking that on as my own personal motto with the new season. Like, I want to use the platform of this season to do good with it and help people no matter what. Obviously, this was way before the coronavirus, and I feel like we can all kind of take that on as our personal motto. Yeah. But I did it as like my own ode to George Lucas. I feel like if, this is what he would do. He would use this new season. And this is just my opinion. I don't want to speak for him, but I witnessed him do it. And if I can use my platform to help people no matter what and do good with it, then I feel like that's my little own way of carrying on his legacy.
Yeah. No, that's
that's great.
Used to always say, "Drop by drop, an ocean is born." So I really feel like if each one of us can, plant like a little drop of kindness or helping someone else, in the end, all of us come together, and it's really about unity. Sorry, Mark, what were you saying?
George is such an inspiration to us all, obviously, and I, throughout the years, he has been very consistent with his, philanthropy and trying to do the right thing with his platform and stuff like that. And it's really, really, awe-inspiring. For me, I also wanted to ask you, how does it feel like? Because like in the Star Wars canon, you have so many of the characters that are born out of the films. And I think if you look beyond the films of characters that are not part of the films, Ahsoka Tano is probably the most popular one out of the sort of extended beyond the film canon, and a lot of that, obviously, a huge majority of that is because of your performance with Ahsoka. How do you feel that Ahsoka's sort of character arc changed over the years, and why is it that she resonates so highly with people?
It is surreal to see how far she's come and just how popular Ahsoka is and how well liked and well received. It's incredible because I care so much about this character. She's literally a part of my heart and soul. I will say she's obviously come so far. She started out as this snippy Padawan that I'm very well aware of how many people hated her in the beginning. And even we talk about all the time, she was a little bratty in the beginning. She was snippy. I mean, there's a reason Ahsoka doesn't continue to say Artui. She started out a little rough at times, but I ask fans in the beginning, because we were always a season ahead. So from what the fans were watching, we were always a season ahead. And so I asked the fans from the beginning, I said, look, no character is perfect. And let's say if Ahsoka was perfect when she started out, well, then that would be a really boring character. Yeah. You have to give a character room to grow. And so I asked fans to be patient with her. I said, please, I understand how you feel at the start, but please just go on this journey with her, because I promise you it's going in a great direction. It's going in a great place. And, thankfully, fans did. They stuck with her. And, there's very few characters in the Star Wars universe that we've had the chance to watch them grow. I mean, we've literally been watching Ahsoka grow now for 12 years. Yeah, so it started with Clone Wars. Then, let's see, from Clone Wars, it went to the Ahsoka book that was next. Then it went to Star Wars Rebels. Mm-hmm. Then it went to Forces of Destiny. Now back to Clone Wars, and not to mention the video games and comic books and everything, in between. So there's very few characters in the Star Wars universe that we've had the chance to watch grow over that entire time. And I also think what makes Ahsoka different is in the Clone Wars, she was the eyes of the audience. So we were all experiencing the Clone Wars through Ahsoka's eyes. And what Dave Filoni and his writing staff did so brilliantly, because they deserve all the credit for the writing, is they took her gender out of it. Mm. So somehow, and also any sort of race or anything. I mean, she, like, we can all relate to Ahsoka.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. She's very relatable.
Yeah, it's like we can all put ourselves in her shoes. And, I feel like Ahsoka over time, she to me, she represents the light side of the Force. But Ahsoka represents what's good in all of us. And I think we all just feel such an attachment to her. And we all can. Like, we all see a little bit of ourselves in Ahsoka. And, thankfully, we've had 12 years to do it. And we're continuing to get more Ahsoka.
You're...
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Did I pause?
It paused and then it reset your whole face. But we heard you the whole time, which is good. But I'm just fixing it now.
Oh, okay.
I'm not zoning out. I'm not zoning out.
Oh, no.
Okay. So I feel like you and Ahsoka are the same. Even talking to you now, obviously I don't know you, but like just talking to you, you just kind of seem like you are the character. Does it feel like that sometimes when you're recording, or you see some lines, or do you get to have input on some lines where her character kind of goes? Are you able to mold that a little bit?
That's a great. No, that's a great question. Thank you for asking, because people ask that all the time. And, one thing I'm always very careful to say is I'm one part of a team of people that it takes to bring Ahsoka to life. But I just feel like I won the lottery. I feel very fortunate to have been able to be part of that team to help originate this character from day one. And, the writing, all the credit goes to Dave and the writing staff. Their stories are incredible. But what Dave did allow me to bring from day one, and really it's why I got the part, because I asked him, I'm like, why me? I mean, my audition, like, I bombed. It failed. And he said, Ashley, you're genuine. Mm-hmm. And he said, I want you to bring that to Ahsoka. And he's like, I don't want Ahsoka to be bratty. He said, I want her to be snippy, but she should never be bratty. And he's like, I want you to just bring your own personality to the character. And so, especially in the beginning, because it took about 6 months to find Ahsoka's voice. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it a lot, and we worked on it a lot. And he would always say to me, he was like, well, Ashley, how would you say it? Because he goes, I feel like how you would say it is how Ahsoka would say it. Yeah. And so that kind of started, just really, I mean, he allowed me to bring, when I say my heart and soul to the character, it really is that. Like, I feel very fortunate that he allowed me to bring my own emotions, my own wit, my humor, my, sadness, my, just however I would say things or however I would feel about something, he allowed me to bring that and really bring my own interpretation to it. So, it's funny. I mean, I know I will always support all Ahsoka stories, and I know Ahsoka will even way past me, but Ahsoka will forever be in my heart and soul. Like, it's just we're bonded forever, and I will always want what's best for her, because to me, she represents hope, and I feel like she represents that to so many people.
Yeah,
and one thing that I've been thinking about since we heard that you were going to be on the show was when Ahsoka comes back in Rebels, like you had said before, it was such a awesome kind of joining of the prequel fans and the sequel fans and the original trilogy. It was like, for us that were huge fans of the prequels, like Theory and I are, to see Ahsoka come into Rebels kind of made us feel good that they hadn't completely forgotten about us. How was it for you to prepare, and how did you change Ahsoka in Rebels as opposed to Clone Wars?
Well, that's a great question too, and one that a lot of people ask, because it is something we're very, very mindful of, and we work very hard on. When I was cast as Ahsoka, her voice was probably most like my voice at the time. It sounded very young. I mostly booked, I was still playing a teenager on the Disney Channel at the time.
Yeah, That's So Raven.
Mostly, That's So Raven. Yeah. Okay. I was literally in live action playing a teenager, but I voiced a lot of teenagers. And it's funny, I feel like my voice has even grown with the character. So over time, like now, I actually feel that my voice is most similar to Ahsoka in Rebels. But, at the beginning of each season, Dave and I always talk about, well, how old is Ahsoka? So then where is her voice? Like, where in my register should her voice be? So it was actually kind of difficult when I went to Rebels because I really had to lower my voice and age Ahsoka. And I think more so than the register was just her tone, because she became more like Obi-Wan, and less like the snippy Padawan in Clone Wars. And I got really used to Rebels Ahsoka, and then I had to go back to Clone Wars. So I had to unlearn everything I had learned and pick up right where season 5 left off. And I think what you're going to see, especially in the Siege of Mandalore, it's kind of like a mix between Clone Wars Ahsoka and Rebels Ahsoka.
Right. Because now where we got left off in the last episode, she's being held captive by the Pikes. And I'm thinking it's, obviously you can't say, but I'm thinking it's going to somehow, that's going to intertwine with Maul and Mandalore in some way. I'm excited. I'm stoked.
Yeah. It's, I've been, again, actually one message to the fans, because I know everyone's waiting on the Siege of Mandalore. I'm seeing everyone's comments. They're like, can we just get to that point? Yeah. But, these episodes are actually so crucial, too, to Ahsoka's storyline. It's kind of like, what I ask fans in the beginning of Clone Wars, from like the movie until the end of season 1, Ahsoka with Trace and Rafa, she's on her own for the first time. Yeah. She's trying to figure out who she is. She, all she knows is the Jedi Order. Plo Koon found her when she was such a youngling and brought her to the Jedi Temple. And this is a whole new world for her. And so we really need to see this moment of time with Ahsoka before we get to the Siege of Mandalore, because it's gonna make that part of her journey, wrapping up Clone Wars, so much more powerful.
Yeah, there's tons of character development in these episodes, and I feel like I see a lot of the comments too, and I made a couple breakdowns, and they're just like, oh, we want more action in this, but leading up to that, we have to kind of know where Ahsoka is mentally, and I think these episodes really show that she's by herself.
That I'll give you that hint. It's like once you get to the Siege of Mandalore, these episodes are gonna make even more sense. Yeah. She's learning a lot right now, and she needs that knowledge.
Can you say how far after she left the Jedi Order this is that we pick up with her story again? Because she looks a little bit older.
That's a great question, and definitely one for Dave Filoni. Okay. I probably did ask him that. I don't remember what he said. But also, Dave and team did as best they could to bring back, the original crew of Clone Wars. But, that was, oh gosh, how many years ago now? What was it, 7 years ago? It's been a long time. And, yes, I think 7 years.
Like so, 2013.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 2013. Yeah. So
2013. Yeah.
It's still, there's still a lot of different people. So the show is going to look different than it did before. Stylistically, there are some different.
It looks so nice.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It literally looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and that's why I say I'm one part of a team of people, because Ahsoka's not Ahsoka without the animators. And, you have Joel Aaron with the lighting and, oh my gosh, Kevin Kiner with the music. Like, every single piece has to fit together and that's what makes her just so powerful.
How pumped were you when they called you and they're like, "Hey, we're going back to the season. We're making it again."
Well, I do actually recommend, it's, now that we're all just at home watching things on the internet, I recommend going back and watching the Clone Wars panel from Star Wars Celebration, because I actually found out from a text message from D. Bradley Baker. He was wine tasting with the Star Wars Rebels cast in Sonoma.
Oh, cool.
And I was riding rides at Disney World with my husband, and I get this text message from D. Bradley Baker, and he was like, Clone Wars back, 12 episodes. And like, that's all it said. And I was just like, no way. Like, this is a setup. I know he's with Dave. They're totally playing a joke with me.
Yeah.
Yes, they're gonna, there's no way he would put that information in a text message. So I wrote back and I'm like, I don't fall for things that easily. And so anyways, I read the text exchange during our panel, the Clone Wars panel at Star Wars Celebration, and it's pretty funny.
Cool.
But Dee told me, but then I eventually found out through my agent and through Dave, and I didn't believe it until I heard it from Dave's mouth.
How close did you and Matt Lanter get like off screen? Are you guys friends? I mean, did you guys like develop that kind of friendship? Because like on the screen, there is this incredible chemistry between Anakin and Ahsoka that you could tell is like a deep-rooted friendship, very similar to Anakin and Obi-Wan. Did you guys establish that through a lot of interaction, or is that just sound editing magic?
Oh, it's definitely through interaction. I will say one thing about the Clone Wars cast and even the Rebels cast. We are all that close. And, the credit goes to Dave and our producers that, from day one, they said it was very important for us to all be in the studio together and record these episodes. And that's how we were able to create this bond. That's how we were able to, create the chemistry that we all have, because Matt Lanter really is like a brother to me. So is D. Bradley Baker. James Arnold Taylor is very much like an Obi-Wan figure to me. I mean, he's taught me so much. We are all incredibly close. Vanessa Marshall really is like the Hera figure, like the mother figure. There's literally nothing we wouldn't do for each other. It's incredible. It's like you put out a transmission to the rest of the voice actors, and it's like we will drop whatever and be there for each other.
Yeah. That's so nice. It's cool. Like, a bunch of people get together to make a project and they like actually become good friends. I think that's the cool part of making movies and products. We have some fan questions. Can we go through some of those?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, this one is mine to start off with.
The biggest fan.
I'm a fan too. How would Ahsoka have affected Anakin during Revenge of the Sith? Would she be able to help him from turning to the dark side? Do you think, if she had stayed a Jedi?
Oh gosh. Well, again, I have to be careful and say these are only my opinions.
Yeah, of course. Fan fiction time.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know anything, so I'm speculating just like you guys are. And I feel like Dave's probably somewhere in the background saying, Eckstein, that's not true. Yeah. But I will say this, the headspace that Ahsoka's in, and we're going to see some of this. Ahsoka is very attached to Anakin. So she does not want to believe anything. And she does know that Anakin trusted her, and she does know that Anakin fought for her before she walked away from the Jedi Order. And I do think she has a tremendous amount of guilt for leaving Anakin and having to walk away. So by no means does she want to believe anything bad about him. So that's all I'll say. We have a little bit more to watch.
Okay. So would you say she almost blames herself possibly for his turn? Or she could?
Oh, No, I'm not saying that because I don't know what she knows. But I just, well, we heard her say it. When let's see, Trace asked Ahsoka, "Where did you learn to fight like that?" And she said, "My brother taught me." Yeah. Yeah. She looks at Anakin like a brother. Yeah. So think about it. When it's like, well, those interviews where somebody I love 48 Hours. Like 48 Hours Mystery. And when they interview the family and the family's like, I never saw it coming. Mm-hmm. I can't believe it. But everyone else is like, I saw it. That's how Ahsoka looks at Anakin. Like, that's her brother. You don't want to believe anything bad about your family. Yeah. And, I would say, in my opinion, that's the headspace she's in. That is her brother. She does not want to believe anything bad about him ever. But I don't know. Like, that's just my opinion. I'm not, foreshadowing anything.
No, of course not. If you could change one thing about Ahsoka, what would you change, if at all?
Oh gosh. I wouldn't change anything. Because, and I say that honestly, because I truly, I mean it when I say, because I talk about this a lot. I mean it when I say I ask myself almost daily, what would Ahsoka do? Mm-hmm. Because I genuinely believe that Ahsoka would always do the right thing. And I strive to be a real life Ahsoka Tano. I literally, it's what guides me. And I feel like she lets the light guide her. It's like she represents the light side of the Force. And I feel like in your gut, like your conscience, I feel like we all know what the right thing to do is. And I feel like that's what Ahsoka would do. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think I would change anything.
Okay.
You guys agree? I heard you say. Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
I wouldn't change anything about Ahsoka.
No, I think she's so relatable to every fan, and that's, I think, one reason why so many people really love her.
There is one thing I would change. I would go beyond Season 7 of Clone Wars and dive into Ahsoka's life as the events of Revenge of the Sith are happening, because there has to be a very interesting story there. So for me, the only thing I would change is let's get to know her a little bit better. Let's go and focus just on her journey between Clone Wars and Rebels. Like, what happened in that period where she sort of grew up outside of her former influences.
That'd be cool. I could see them doing something like that with like a side story or like a comic or a book, or I don't know, maybe even like a DLC in Battlefront 2 or something. Do you think she'll ever come to Battlefront 2?
Oh gosh. I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. Yeah. I can tell you I haven't recorded anything. But it's cool. I mean, yes, I actually agree. That is one thing that I hope for. There's so many more stories left to tell with her, and I hope we continue to get them.
Yeah. Same here.
Was the voice that was in Rise of Skywalker something that Ashley went in specifically to record for that movie, or was it taken from the Clone Wars, Rebels, or unused material?
Yeah, great question. It actually is something that I went in and recorded specifically for. So I found out that it was a possibility actually when I was at Star Wars Celebration in April in Chicago. My schedule was crazy that weekend, and I got a random text message from Matthew Wood asking if I had time for a voice record in the middle of Celebration. And
really?
Yeah. And of course my answer is, I don't know if I have time, but for episode 9, yes, I have time. I will do whatever it takes. Well, it turns out that we didn't do it that weekend, but a couple weeks later, I went into the studio and I recorded some temp lines, and I was told that it was only temp. I was told that it was a big maybe that this would end up in the movie, and that if it did end up in the movie, I would come back in and re-record the lines, and that wouldn't be until October. And so, to go, I think I recorded the temp lines in May, and that's a long time, So finally, now October is here, and I still haven't heard anything. And I thought, okay, well, it's not happening. I haven't heard anything. And then it was like the second week of October, and my agent called and said, okay, you have a voice record session at Bad Robot.
Cool.
And I immediately freaked out.
Yeah.
And I still didn't want to believe it was true, because I've been in a couple movies where I had scenes and, I either got cut completely from the movie or my scenes got cut. So it's like, you don't want to believe it until you're sitting in the seat in the theater and it actually happens. But, they sent me the booking sheet the night before, which is where we're going and details. And it said session attendees, and J.J. Abrams was on there. And I'm like, there's no way. Yeah. There's no way that he's going to be there. So I show up and I walk in, and there's only 3 people in the room. And 2 of them were Matthew Wood and J.J. Abrams. And you want to talk about being so nervous, but yeah, unreal. And Matthew Wood is a great friend of mine. So, that kind of made me feel comfortable right away. But J.J. Abrams walked up, he shook my hand, introduced himself, and he said, "Thank you for being in the movie." And I was speechless. I'm like, thank you for letting me be in the movie. And he was just so nice, so humble, so down to earth. It was truly a cold read. I didn't get the lines ahead of time because it was so top secret, and they had me read all the lines in that sequence, which I'm assuming they did with the other actors. So, because I didn't know what what the cut was going to be, so I had about maybe 15 lines that I read, and so I'm literally reading the lines for the first time as I'm recording them and performing them, and J.J. Abrams is sitting like 3 feet in front of me.
That's crazy.
So it was definitely nerve-wracking, but he couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been, just more warm and welcoming. And, we chit-chatted a little bit afterwards, and he asked me a question which was interesting. Of all the questions he could have asked me, I wasn't anticipating this. He goes, with voice acting, he goes, I'm just curious. He goes, since you're not acting it out, he goes, do you visualize anything? What do you visualize? And I kind of paused, and I, especially for that scene, it's not like I had it ahead of time. So I didn't have much to visualize other than the direction he was giving me. But I told him, I said, I don't really visualize anything. It's a feeling. I can feel when my voice sounds like Ahsoka, when it's in the right range, like we talked about earlier. I can feel if she is in her 30s versus her teens. It's just a feeling. Right. And so I told him, I said, it's not so much a visual, it's a feeling. And it was interesting. We had a conversation about kind of the method of voice acting, and then that was it.
Well, and then he had to voice act too. He had to be Dio.
One quick follow-up to you doing the voice in Rise of Skywalker, and I've seen some of the fans in the chat chatting about it. Do you know what her fate is? Because if we can hear her voice, we can assume that she's a Force ghost, and we can assume that she's gone to the other side. Did they give you any heads up, or they're just like, Ahsoka's talking, we don't know too much else other than that?
Oh, no. So I know nothing in terms of her fate. I know just as much as you guys do. Honestly, I'm telling you the honest truth. And so we work as voice actors, we work on a need-to-know basis. But they tell us what we need to know to get the performance that we need to give, but we don't know anything beyond that. And I'm just as confused as you guys are, because Dave Filoni released that sketch that's on his Instagram and Twitter. That what did it say? Things aren't necessarily what they seem. So your guess is as good as mine.
Cool.
Okay, fair enough.
We have a question regarding your clothing line. Is there anything you'd like to say about it? I'm trying to find the question again, but I'm unable to. I would just. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, is the shirt that you're wearing right now one designed by you?
Yes. So my company that I started is called Her Universe. I originally started it in 2010, and it was just for female fans. It just started out as T-shirts made for fangirls, made for women, and over time we grew, to be women and girls, and expanded beyond Star Wars with, Marvel and Star Trek and Doctor Who and DC. And then now we have Her Universe and also Our Universe, which, Nina, I think you're wearing one of our shirts, right?
Yeah, and I have a few. The other one that I really like is this one right here. It's almost like a manga version. Someone from your company sent me a care package, and I did a review on it on my channel. It was just like so many people were so happy to see it, and I was really happy to open it too. So I don't know if you were involved with that, but thank you so much for making these nice products. They're really good quality too.
Gosh. Well, thank you. Yeah, this was something that I never in a million years did I think I would have a merchandise line, but really because of Ahsoka. Fangirls, back in 2010 were being bullied horribly for just liking Star Wars, and I wanted to end the bullying. And so I thought that if I made merchandise for female fans where they felt comfortable being themselves, then we could help break the stigma, because this world isn't just for men and boys. It isn't just for women and girls. It's for everyone. These stories are for everyone. And so over time, like I said, it grew. And fortunately, I was able to join the Hot Topic family of brands. So now we work in the same offices as Hot Topic and Box Lunch and Her Universe, which is what enabled me to be able to grow and be able to expand into men's clothing. And also we work with Torrid, our sister company. We do a lot of plus sizes as well. So just very, very fortunate to be a part of the Hot Topic family and be able to grow. So, and then this shirt, we have a new Clone Wars line that's launching very soon for both men and women. And so this is one of the shirts that's coming to the collection. We have a really cool Tano tracksuit that's
cool.
Men and women. Yeah, it's like a polyester tracksuit, and the pants are snap away pants, like full snap.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, it's awesome. So stay tuned. It's coming mid-April.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you.
And first of all, congratulations, because I used to be involved in the clothing business. We actually did some Star Wars stuff when I worked over with Mark Echo back in the old days.
Oh yeah.
We did like Star Wars hoodies that you can zip up. Yeah. And we had a lot of fun with that. But the point is that it's very difficult to actually have that stuff penetrate a marketplace. So again, congratulations. That's really impressive that you've gotten to the level of distribution through Hot Topic and stuff like that. That's really awesome.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you. Well, congratulations to you too, because actually Mark Echo is what really inspired me. Those designs, they were so cool. And I thought, if I could do a line that's as cool as what Mark Echo is doing, but make it for women, that was my goal. So I bought like all the Mark Echo pieces. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. The one time I sit down with George was through that clothing line. Wow. And that's when I asked him about the fate of my favorite video game of all time, Star Wars Galaxies, and what he said to me will remain between him and I. But that's really great. Do you have some more questions from the fans there?
Yeah, I've definitely got more questions. I just also want to say I really like that your clothing line stands for helping not just kids but anyone through being bullied about Star Wars or anything quote unquote nerdy. Because that was something I dealt with a lot growing up too, and just like you feel like you can't like what you want sometimes. You can't like certain fandoms or movies or whatever you want, because you'll be kind of just persecuted for it. So I like that you're standing for that. That means a lot about you and your character.
Oh well, thank you. Well, there is a story behind your shirt, actually.
Oh, okay.
So that shirt, is inspired. I do something, or we do something on my personal Instagram, but also her universe every Monday. We call it Mental Health Monday, and that was.
I see your posts.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Well, so that shirt was inspired by Mental Health Monday, and there's a quote on the back, and it's in blue. It's the fortune cookie, and it says, "Never give up hope, no matter how dark things seem." So that's the fortune cookie at the beginning of, I think it's The Wrong Jedi. It's the final episode of season 5. But the reason that the logo is black on black, because it represents that no matter how dark things seem, that shirt is just black, like it's just dark. But the fortune cookie on the back is that bit of hope. It's that light that's at the end of the tunnel as a reminder to never give up hope. So there's always a story behind all of our designs, and it's not just me. I have an incredible team of people, and we work very, very hard on it. But we try to create, kind of like what Mark Echo did, wearable pieces of art. Everything has a message and a story behind it.
That's cool. That's very cool.
It makes it more fun to wear. How does Ashley feel about how Dave takes her character of Ahsoka in this season of the Clone Wars? I feel like you kind of touched on this a little bit.
Yeah. This season, again, none of us saw this coming. What's happening, where there's a worldwide pandemic and we're all in quarantine, and it's a dark time for a lot of people. And I had no clue when I picked the line. We have to help each other no matter what. When I picked that a year ago as like my own personal motto, I had no clue how true it would be during this time when these episodes are airing. And to me, this season is about helping each other no matter what. And then also, once we get to the Siege of Mandalore, it's truly about hope. And really, like, when it feels like all hope is gone, like when it's lost, like it's it's literally like hope is gone, checked out. And it's about never giving up hope. So I feel like it's what our world needs right now. And also going back to Ahsoka. Ahsoka's bigger than me. It's bigger than it's like she's like bigger than all of us. She represents all of us now. And years ago I started the hashtag Ahsoka Lives, but now I've started to use Ahsoka Lives in all of us. And it really is true. I think we can all take something away from her. And I'm not trying to get like so emotional and heavy with this, but I feel like right now she's that light that I feel like, we can all escape and watch her in these episodes and take something away from her and relate it to what's going on in our everyday lives right now. So I'm so incredibly proud of these stories and Ahsoka in these episodes. And obviously we had no idea what our world was going to be going through when these stories were written.
Let's see. Did she prefer voice acting on Clone Wars or Rebels? I guess two different Ahsokas, kind of.
Yeah. I definitely enjoyed both. Clone Wars, I think it's where I've spent the most time. It's kind of like my happy place, but maybe more my comfort zone because I spent so much time there. But I just love any Ahsoka, any age, any story that we get. I kind of view it as any chance I get to voice Ahsoka, it's just a privilege, and I don't take it for granted. Like, not a single day do I take it for granted.
No, of course not. You have such a big impact for so many people. We got two last questions here, and actually, a lot of people sent super chats, about $350 worth, so I would like to donate that to any charity that you want. Because all these questions we didn't get to, and people, just your fans asking things. So I'd like to donate that to any charity you'd like. So you could maybe have your agent send me an email or something like that, and we can
Oh,
match that.
thank you. Thank you. Wow, thank you, everyone. And thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you do.
I will say, I'll actually choose the Honor Sleeves campaign.
Sure.
It's for mental health and behavioral health at Nationwide Children's Hospital. They just opened the first in our nation. It's called the Big Lots Behavioral Health Pavilion, and it's the first hospital on a children's hospital campus just dedicated to mental and behavioral health for kids and teens. And I'm very outspoken. I want to be a voice and an advocate for mental health of all ages. But the reason why I've been supporting the Honor Sleeves campaign at Nationwide Children's is this money goes to research and advocacy, and they're basically creating a blueprint to hopefully, make hospitals like this available all over the nation, because 50% of lifelong mental illnesses present themselves by the age of 14. So if we can catch mental illness early, think of how many adults we're going to save and help. So I figure by being a voice, we're going to help people of all ages. But if we can start really being advocates early, then there's a lot of kids we can help from really having a lifelong struggle if we can diagnose it early. So thank you.
No, of course. And in that case, I'm going to put my money towards it too, and I'm going to double it. So whatever you guys super chat here, we're going to times that by 2, and then I can get all your information from your agent as well.
Thank you so much.
Mental health and children have a really soft spot for me because I was I don't want to get emotional either, but I was on chemo for 5 years when I was a little kid in a children's hospital. So just seeing all those kids wasting away, and whether it was mental health or whatever it was, it's always a tough thing to see. So I think our future really starts with children. So as much as we can help them, I'd love to be a part of that, and I love what you're doing.
Oh my gosh, thank you. You're making me emotional as well. This is incredible.
All right, let's switch gear here, and let's ask another question. I would love to hear her talk about her universe. Okay, so I guess. Oh well, what was your inspiration for that? How has gaining that experience changed her perspective on the fandom?
As I mentioned earlier, her universe. I started her universe really as a means to end the bullying. I read story after story of women and girls being bullied and being bullied horrendously for just saying that they like Star Wars. And I know it feels like, we live in a different time now because now it's so much more accepting. But back in 2010 when we launched, it was really unheard of. I mean, the stereotype was that it was just for men and boys. And so after reading story after story, and that was when message boards were huge. And so women were pretending to be men on message boards just so that they could have a conversation about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And, I did. I literally asked myself, what would Ahsoka do? I didn't know how to make T-shirts. I didn't know how to start a company. I didn't even understand what licensing was. I knew nothing. But I taught myself because my answer to the question was Ahsoka would stand up for female fans. And I had my foot in the door as the voice of Ahsoka. I wasn't given special favors. I still had to follow all the protocol and all the steps. I had to start a company. I had to get a license. I had to do all these things that the other companies had to do. But I had a platform and I had a voice, and I knew I had to figure it out because somebody had to break that stigma. And so that's always been what has guided me. And that's why all these designs have a story behind it, because to me, the clothes represent our armor every day. So when you put on your armor, it's like, okay, whatever you put on, it's like, I can face the day. I can do anything. And that's that's what is behind all of our designs. And that's why I'm so outspoken about mental health. That's why your shirt is inspired, to tell a story about mental health. Because to me, the clothes and the company are just a means to continue to do that, to break stigmas and stereotypes and do good, like raise money like we've done here on this chat.
Yeah. I feel very fortunate. Super chats are flowing in now. We're almost at $500, so that's almost $1,000 towards the charity.
Oh, so thank you. Keep well, and I have to give a shout out. I have to give a shout out. That was why I really wanted to, join forces with Hot Topic, because they're advocates for mental health as well. They, they started a campaign, and where mental health is a hot topic, and it's, I'm so proud to be a part of a company that that wants to do good with what they do. So, so thank you. I mean, to me, that's what it's about. It's always been about. I said her universe is two parts. It's a merchandise line, but more importantly, it's a community, and community is what guides us.
Yeah, I love it. I really like it. After recording her lines for Twilight of the Apprentice, did she have any thoughts or theories of Ahsoka's fate before her return in A World Between Worlds?
Oh, well, I mean, I had all sorts of thoughts and questions, but I wasn't told anything. But I do have a funny story about it. My mom, my mom and dad and aunt actually came to San Francisco, and we had a season finale screening. And so they got to come to the screening, and they got to, stay at Skywalker Ranch with me. It was a really nice family vacation. And my mom had no clue who Pablo Hidalgo was. Pablo Hidalgo is like, story team and, a holocron keeper along with Leland Chee. And, he's totally like behind the scenes, like making Star Wars stories happen. And Pablo was sitting directly behind us. So the episode ends, and, Ahsoka, well, no, wait. I don't know if this is the episode. This is the episode where Ahsoka walks away. At Rebels, like walks through the triangle, and she's limping, and we don't know, is she a Force ghost, is she alive, like what's happening. And my mom turns around and starts telling Pablo Hidalgo what just happened, and like what's going to happen. And she's like, well, let me tell you what, Yoda said this, and so because Yoda said this, this is what Ahsoka's doing, and this is where she's going, and this is what she's going to do. And I'm like mortified, and Pablo's just sitting there like shaking his head and smiling, and my mom is just going off on like for like 5 minutes. She has no clue. So we never let her live that down. It's like, yeah, Mom, your role on the story group at Lucasfilm.
What do you think, or what do you want Ahsoka's legacy to be after you're sort of done with her from an acting perspective?
Ahsoka, I very early on realized that being the voice of Ahsoka was not just a role. As I mentioned, I've been a lifelong Star Wars fan, but I didn't understand Star Wars like I do now. And if you're a Star Wars fan, it's not a trend. It's literally a part of who you are. It's like in your DNA. And I realized that Star Wars changes people's lives. It does. It changes people's lives, and it also saves people's lives. And that's why when I truly realized that, I realized, okay, this is more than just a part. And I mean, that's why I've practically dedicated my life to doing what I do with Ahsoka and her universe, because I see, and I read the comments and I read the DMs. I truly, and I'm not exaggerating, I probably get at least one DM a day about how Ahsoka has either changed someone's life or saved someone's life. I mean, the amount of messages I get where someone says, I was contemplating suicide, but I watched, Ahsoka walk away from the Jedi Order, I realized if she can start over, I can start over too. I mean, when you hear messages like that, it changes your life. And so for me, Ahsoka she's making a difference in this world. And it may sound weird, this fictional character, this animated character.
It's not weird at all. No.
But she's changing lives. And so I just hope that continues. I hope Ahsoka continues to change and save lives. Because it's so important.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. Thank you for that.
No, so look, all these Star Wars characters are so important to us, and I feel like you've really helped portray another side of Star Wars for a younger generation, and also the older generation too, with Ahsoka. So thank you once again on behalf of all the fans. Mark, go ahead.
Thank you.
No, look, we've kept Ashley for 70 minutes. You've been so gracious with your time.
Thank you so much.
We'd love to have you back once we get through the other side of this pandemic, and we can be back in the studio and do all that fun stuff again. It's such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, thank you guys. And I want to say, Ahsoka is as popular as she is, not just because of me, but because of you two and all the fans. It's really been a joint effort. I will say, Ahsoka defied all the odds. Everyone told me that, especially female characters, that they couldn't sell product. They wouldn't do as well. Their books wouldn't be popular. They wouldn't even necessarily have dedicated arcs and episodes. And look how far she's come. And it's because, united, we said we want more Ahsoka. And so I want to thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for having me on the show. I've had the best time. Thank you.
No, a really great time. If you ever just want to call in like this, let us know. We're totally down for it. We've raised over $1,100 already. So that's... Well, it's
awesome.
Only showing Canadian, so So then I'll put it to 2,200, and it'll be great.
Oh my gosh! Well,
thank you.
I am matching this as well. So once you get the total, I'll match it, and I will tell you it's going to such a great cause at the Honor Sleeves campaign. So thank you.
I'm sure it is. I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy everyone has donated. We got a couple people here that donated over $100. So.
Oh my gosh!
You can watch the stream back, and so many questions are all for you, and it's great.
Oh gosh!
It keeps flowing in. So I'm gonna end the stream, and if you guys want to be part of that charity, please give me the link as well, Ashley, and then I can put it in the description, just for whenever people replay this video. So Mark, do you have anything else to say before we end?
Look, I'm so humbled by everything you've brought Wars world. I'm a huge Ahsoka Tano fan, and I can't wait to see how this season of Rebel ends up, and I can't wait to see you take the character on again. Because I'm sure you will. I'm sure that it's not over between you and Ahsoka. I mean, maybe you already know it's not over and you're not telling us, but in my heart I feel very confident that we'll see Ashley and Ahsoka team up again for another adventure.
Thank you. Well, I hope so. Thank you. And may the Force be with you guys.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.